I'm Ty Rains for Community 10 Television, and I am here with Len Skowronski, who is here to talk to us today about his party, the Alberta Social Credit Party. And today we are going to talk about helping Albertans own their farms, businesses, and homes. But first, Len, can you please give us a recap of our last two discussions?
Okay, the highlights of sessions 1 and 2. I'll just go through them quickly here. Money does not have any value on its own. It only has value when it is traded for goods or services. Enough money must be available to provide the goods and services for all needs of Canadians. The Bank of Canada was established to create the money needed by Canadians. Unfortunately, the creation and distribution has slipped to the private banks. As a result, individuals and governments are paying billions of dollars in interest to these banks. We say that we must mandate the Alberta Treasury Branch to provide the capital needed by Albertans to establish a thriving economy. We would have the ATB provide loans to Albertans at prime plus a small operation surcharge. Alberta can use its natural resources as collateral to create the credit needed by Albertans. There are an estimated 1.5 trillion barrels of oil in our oil sands. At $100 a barrel, the oil sands are worth $150 trillion. We could lose 24 million by exporting bitumen instead of upgraded synthetic crude oil. We could lose an additional $12 trillion paid to foreign investors. If we took control of our credit, such as the oil sands, the resulting wealth could provide for our social needs, such as health care, education, senior support, communication, transportation, energy, shelter, and food. So that's what we covered in our last two sessions.
Thank you, Len. So now you're here to talk to us about how you can help Albertans owning their farms, homes, and businesses. Now, do you want to tell us what the Social Credit Party's plan is for that?
Sure. Let's take an example that many, especially young couples buying their first home, will experience. They will usually, I know anyway, in the larger cities, you're going to have to at least have a $300,000 mortgage, if not more. And currently, on average, you're going to have to pay 5%, and you may have to go over 30 years. If you should do this, you will end up paying $276,000 in interest over the term of the mortgage. Now, this is a real shame. What we would do is we would direct the ATB to give Albertans money at cost. Now, one way of doing this, we could create the money, as I've mentioned in our previous session, or we could borrow it from the Bank of Canada at prime and then lend it out to the person needing a mortgage. Let's say we borrow it from the Bank of Canada at 1% prime. And we don't add anything to this, we just add $100 per year for administrative charges. In the end, interest and administration charges would total $50,000. So this would be $226,000 less than if you took the 5% mortgage from a bank. So just imagine what the homeowner could do with this $226,000. Now just take our millions of homeowners across Alberta and just think of how much more money could be into our economy instead of into the pockets of the bank shareholders and executives. Also, another thing we would do is to help some people that don't have the $300,000, the lower income people, we would encourage cooperative housing. And we, again, would want the Alberta Treasury Branch to create or provide the funds as loans to create these cooperative houses. We would also eliminate education tax for low-income property owners. And for those who can't afford to own a home, renters, we would require that rent increases could not go beyond the raise in the cost of living. Now, this is what we would do for homeowners. Now, what about farmers? Not long ago, a family could earn a good living by forming a quarter section. Now, they have to have many sections, even more than the townships sometimes. And why? It's mainly because of the cost of the machinery. You have to pay somewhere in the order of $300,000 for a combine. Well, that's just one of the implements, and just think of the tractors and seeders and everything else. So it becomes very expensive. First off, we would extend our low-interest loans to farmers to buy the necessary implements. So again, it would be at prime plus a service charge. Then they would save a lot of money. We would also encourage cooperatives that would own these expensive combines and tractors and so on, and then they could be shared by the farmers. So not every farmer would have to own a $300,000 combine. Maybe a few could share, and then the smaller farmer would not have to sell his land to the bigger farmer, or unfortunately it's big corporations now that are buying the land. Again, we would mandate the ATB to provide low-cost loans to be able to buy this machinery. We would also encourage cooperatives be formed for food processing, so that the ranchers and farmers could actually make this huge markup that the current processors are making. Why not the actual producers of the raw produce make this extra amount? We would also encourage the formation of energy cooperatives for our natural gas and electricity. Currently, electricity costs have gone way out of control because of deregulation and so on. Even with regulation, these utilities make a huge profit. And why not have the consumers make the profit? You know, I belong to Calgary Co-op store, and I do my shopping there. I buy my gasoline there, and every year I get a nice check back. All of the profits go back to the consumer. Why can't we do that with our electricity and natural gas and all our meat and potatoes and whatever?
So when we meet again, Len, we're going to be discussing what the Social Credit Party will be doing to help Albertans regain control of our natural resources. Thank you very, very much for being on our programming today.
Okay, I look forward to the next session.
I'm Ty Raines for Community 10 Television.